Okay, you guys, so we're going to start what are called proportions today. And proportions is when you have two ratios or rates and that they are equivalent. So we're setting them equal to each other. So if you take a look at this, so on this side, you can see that we have 1/3 and 2/6, and we're saying those are equivalent ratios. And that's true, right? Because if I take 1/3, I multiply that by 2/2, 1 times 2 is 2, 3 times 2 is 6. Then I know that 1/3 is equal to 2/6. They are equivalent ratios. When I set it up like this, where I write one is equal to the other, that is called a proportion. So 2/6 is proportional to 1/3. Okay, so it is basically what we've been doing, except for now we're setting these up as proportions. And if I take 1/3, set it equal to 2/6, I can also solve problems like this with cross multiplying. And when you cross multiply, you're going to get equal values also. So 1, if I cross multiply here with my 1 and my 6, 1 times 6 here is 6, 3 times 2 is also 6. So they're going to be equal with cross multiplication too. Okay. We're going to look at an example here. Before I go further with this video, this is all in that 7-2 packet. I want to make sure you guys are following along with that as I go over this today, because you're going to be asked to complete parts of it in class. So Sheldon and Leonard are partners in a business. Sheldon makes $2 in profit for every $5 Leonard makes. So you guys know that that's a ratio. For every $2 in profit that Sheldon makes, Leonard makes 5. We've been working with that for a couple of months now. If Leonard makes $20 in profit for the first item they sell, how much profit does Leonard make? Well, they set these up as a proportion. So the initial ratio, in my words, so this would be W, K, this would be the U. Sheldon to Leonard are your words. What do we know about it? Sheldon makes $2 of profit for every 5 Leonard makes. And then if they're telling you that Leonard makes 20, how much will Sheldon make? Well, you know, like we've been solving this. How do I get from 5 to 20? Well, they're showing you here, down here, we multiply by 4. If you multiply your denominator by 4, you must multiply your numerator by 4. And 2 times 4 is 8. Therefore, Sheldon makes $8 profit when Leonard makes 20. So they're saying 20 is the common denominator. Equivalent ratios will have the same denominator. That's how that you can compare them, okay? So the other way we could look at this is if I have 2 over 5 and I set it equal to something over 20, I can also use cross multiplication to figure this out, right? So if I cross multiply here, 2 times 20 is 40. Then I know that 5 times whatever this is has to equal 40. Well, 5 times what is 40? 8, right? So you can look at it that way too, okay, with cross multiplying. So I'm going to read this to you now. The members of the PTA are ordering pizza for a meeting. They plan to order 2 cheese pizzas for every 3 pepperoni pizzas they order. How many cheese pizzas will they order if they order 15 pepperoni pizzas? Now, this problem is no different than a lot of the problems we've been doing. So I'm going to go ahead and underline the key information. They're ordering pizzas for a meeting. They're going to order 2 cheese for every 3 pepperoni. They want to know how many cheese if they order 15 pepperoni. So if I set this up using WKU, I'm talking about cheese to pepperoni. My initial ratio is 2 cheese, right, to 3 pepperoni. And now we're talking about 15 pepperoni. Well, how do I get from 3 to 15? Well, you guys already know I have to multiply by 5, right? And if I multiply 3 times 5, I have to multiply 2 times 5. 2 times 5 is 10. So they would have to order 10 cheese pizzas. So if I take this 2/3 here and I set it equal to the 15, 2 times 15 is 30, right? So then I know I have to multiply 3 by something over here. What times 3 would give you 30? Well, 3 times 10 also gives me 30. So when I cross multiply, those numbers are going to be even, okay? That's proportions. Okay, I'm going to look at example 2. Okay, so example 2 here. The distance Allie runs in 36 minutes is shown on the pedometer. At this rate, how far could he run in 60 minutes? Well, they have the time, that would be your W. What do you know about it? We know that in 36 minutes, he runs 3 miles. We're trying to figure out how far he's going to go in 60 minutes, okay? So what we have to do here is figure out how far he's going to go in 1 mile. How many minutes will it take him to run 1 mile, okay? In order to do that, we have to find what is called the unit rate. And you guys already know how to do that. We can't just look at going from 3 to we don't know and 36 to 60 because 36 and 60 are not those friendly numbers, okay? So what you're going to do first is find the unit rate. And so they're showing you here, we're going to take 3 and divide it by 3 to get 1 and 36 and divide it by 3 to get 12. So now we know that it's going to take him 12 minutes to run 1 mile. Okay, so if it takes him 12 minutes to run 1 mile, and we're going from 12 to 60, now we're here. Now we're going to start thinking about, okay, how do I get from 12 to 60? Well, we're multiplying by 5. And if I multiply 12 by 5, I have to multiply 1 by 5. And I end up with 60 over 5, okay? So equivalent rates are going to have the same numerator, with the same numerators have the same denominator. So 60 over 5 is equal to 60 over 5, okay? So he's going to run 5 miles in 60 minutes, okay? That's what they want us to figure out. So if we are going to compare 36 over 3 and 60 over 5 using less than or greater than symbols, what we have to do is get a common denominator here. So a common denominator, you know how to do that. The only way we can compare fractions is if they have common denominators, and you know that ratios are fractions. So a common denominator for 3 and 5, if I put those in a cake, I'm going to be 1 and done. So 1 times 3 is 3, times 5 is 15. So my common denominator is going to be 15. So that means I need to change 36 thirds to 15ths. I'm going to erase this so we have room. I would have to multiply this by 5 over 5. If I take 36 times 5 in my calculator, I get 180. Okay, then I'm going to do the same thing for 60. 60 over 5, I need to convert that to 15ths. I'm going to multiply by 3 over 3 because 5 times 3 is 15. 60 times 3 is 180. Look at that. They are equal. So those are equal proportions. So we can compare them that way. So Mrs. Reynolds' sprinkler system has 9 stations that water all parts of her front and back lawn. Each station runs for an equal amount of time. if it takes 48 minutes for the first 4 stations to water, how long does it take to water all parts of her lawn? Okay, we're going to underline the key information here. So Mrs. Reynolds' sprinkler has 9 stations. It waters all parts of her front and back lawn. Each station runs for equal amount of time. It takes 48 minutes for the first 4 stations to water. We want to know how long for all parts of her lawn. Well, what do we know? We know that it's going to be minutes to stations. We know it takes 48 minutes for 4 stations. And we're trying to figure out how long it's going to take for all parts of her lawn. We do know that she has 9 stations. So the first thing we need to figure out is how much she can water, what the unit rate is per station. Okay? Because 9 and 4 are not friendly numbers. So how do I get from 4 to 1? I'm going to divide by 4. If I divide my denominator by 4, divide my numerator by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 48 divided by 4 is 12. So then, if it takes 12 minutes per station, and she has 9 stations, then I can easily set that up, right? And I can say minutes to stations, 12 minutes for 1 station, we have 9, multiply by 9. Oh, it's going to take 108 minutes. Whoops. It's going to take 108 minutes to water her lawn. So I can say that 48 over 4 is equal to 108 over 9. And I can even check that by saying 48 times 9, what does that equal? That equals 432. 108 times 4, oh, also 432. So I know that I'm correct because my cross multiplication made them equal. Okay, here we have using proportional relationships to find distances on a map. So a scale drawing is a drawing of a real object that is proportionally smaller or larger than a real object. The scale describes how the dimensions in the object compare. So we've talked about this before. So like in social studies, you have a map and it'll say 1 inch is equal to 2 miles because they can't put like the actual distances in your book. Like you know this, we've talked about it. So here in this example, they're telling you that the distance between 2 schools on Lehigh Avenue is shown on the map. What is the actual distance between the schools? Write a proportion. So they're telling you that 2 miles is 1 inch. So that's what your proportion is. 2 miles is 1 inch. Now they're saying blank miles is equal to 3 inches. That's what this side is saying. Okay? So the first thing that we have to do is write an equivalent ratio. Well, you know, because you've been doing this for so long, that the first thing you're going to have to figure out is how do I get from 1 to 3? Well, that's what they're showing you in this step 2 is using an equivalent rate. So 1 times 3 is 3, and if you multiply your denominator by 3, you're going to have to multiply your numerator by 3. So 2 times 3 is 6. So the actual distance between the 2 schools is 6 miles. So our proportion would actually be 2 miles over 1 inch is equal to 6 miles over 3 inches. That's your proportion. And don't forget, if we cross multiplied here, 2 times 3 is 6, 6 times 1 is 6, they're equal. Okay guys, let's check this out. So this your turn problem says the distance between Sandville and Lewistown is shown on the map. What is the actual distance between the towns? So what you need to notice is the scale here first at the bottom, right? The scale says it's 1 inch is 20 miles. And we're going from Sandville to Lewiston. And it tells us that is 2.5 inches. So I'm just going to use WKU. And I'm going to say, so it's inches to miles. That's what I'm looking at. This is 2.5 inches, right? And then I should be able to figure out how many miles that is, right? Oh, I'm sorry, I put that in the wrong spot. So this is saying 1 inch is 20 miles. I have 2.5 inches. So my proportion here is 1 to 20 is equal to 2.5 to what? Okay? So to go from 1 to 2.5, what am I going to have to do? Everybody should say multiply by 2.5, right? Because 1 times 2.5 is 2.5. Therefore, you need to multiply 20 by 2.5, right? And when you do so, you're going to get 50. So the answer here is 50 miles, okay? And if you cross multiply to check that, 20 times 2.5, if you pop that in a calculator, you'll get 50. 1 times 50 is 50. When you do the cross multiplication, it is equal. So you can tell that those proportions are equal to each other. Okay, so they want you to find the unknown in each situation here. So they're saying 3 over 5 is equal to what over 30? I think you're able to do that on your own. You know that you need to multiply by something over itself. So how to get from 5 to 30. Same with number 2. You have 4 over 10, something over 5. And then you're going to say, how do I get from 10 to 5? Well, they're showing you here that you're going to have to divide by something. So what would you divide 10 by to get 5? So I think you can do that on your own. Number 3 says Layla and Joe are 2 of the partners in a business. Layla makes $3 in profits for every $4 Joe makes. If Joe makes $60 profit on the first item they sell, how much profit does Layla make? So this one, again, we're going to pick out the important information. Layla makes $3 for every $4 Joe makes. If Joe makes $60, we want to know how much Layla makes. So again, we're comparing Layla to Joe. Layla makes $3. Joe makes $4. They're saying Joe is making 60. So then you're going to say, how do we get from 4 to 60? Okay, so you're going to have to figure that out. What times 4 gives you 60? And then you have to multiply 3 by the same thing. Well, I know it's 15. So that gives me 45. So we're saying that 3, so it's $45 would be the answer. So 3 over 4 is going to be equal to 45 over 60. Another thing we can do is reduce 45/60ths to see if the simplest form is 3/4. Well, 15 goes into 45 3 times. If I divide 60 by 15, I get 4. It is 3/4. So they are equal. Okay, you're going to spend the rest of the class going through the guided practice. That's what the rest of the problems are. I skipped over 1 and 2 because you should be able to fill those in pretty easy. I did 3 for you. So you're going to fill in the guided practice. They should be pretty easy for you to set up those proportions. It's what we've been doing for the last few weeks. So go ahead and complete those for the remainder of the class. You're going to hang on to your packet for tomorrow. Okay, thanks. Guided practice, guys. Finish it. Thanks. I meant for Monday. You're going to hang on to it for Monday. Whoopsies. See you Monday, guys. Thanks.